Okay, welcome to the July 20th City Commission meeting. Before we get going, Porter O'Neill will give us a few directions about the operation of the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. I want to share some housekeeping items for this hybrid meeting. This meeting is being broadcast and recorded on Zoom and the City of Lawrence YouTube channel. It is also being broadcast on Channel 25. The links to the Zoom meeting and the City YouTube channel are always available at the top of every meeting agenda. The public chat function is disabled. All chats will go directly to me. When you are not participating in the meeting, please mute your microphone. When you are participating in the meeting, please keep your video on. When you are not participating in the meeting, please turn your video off. You will still be able to hear the meeting. You can turn your video back on when you are participating. Turning your video off when you are not participating allows the active meeting participants to be seen on the screen. If you have any trouble, please send me a chat. The city reserves the right to mute microphones and/or turn off people's video to minimize distractions. Please remember to state your name every time you speak for the benefit of those listening remotely. And now I'll return the meeting back to Mayor Finkeldye.
Thank you, Porter. And now our City Clerk, Sherry Wiedemann, will give a few comments about how we'll operate the public comment.
Recording in progress.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mayor. When public comment is sought on an item, the mayor will first call on those participating in person. Individuals wishing to provide public comment should approach the podium following social distancing and safety protocols. Participants who are required to or choose to wear a mask may remove their mask while making remarks at the podium. Please state your name before speaking. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The mayor will then call on those participating virtually. Individuals providing public comment via Zoom should use the raise hand function to indicate they wish to speak. The raise hand function may appear in different places on your Zoom menu, depending on the device you are using and which version of Zoom you have. Individuals will be called upon by name in the order they appear on the meeting host screen. When you are called on, please unmute and state your name. Again, comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Sherry. The first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. The City Commission reserves the right to amend, supplement, or reorder the agenda during the meeting. Does any commission wish to amend the agenda? If not, I'd look for a motion.
I'd move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ananda, a second by Commissioner Lawson. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Next is the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered under one motion and will be approved by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on those items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Members of the public wishing to speak on an item that has been pulled off the consent agenda will be limited to 3 minutes for comments. Does any commissioner wish to pull an item off the consent agenda? Seeing none, does any member of the public who is present in City Hall would like to pull something from the consent agenda?
Great.
Seeing none, if anyone online would like to pull an item off the consent agenda, please raise your hand using the raise your hand feature, and Sherry will call upon you.
There are no items to pull, Mayor.
Thank you. We will bring the consent agenda back to the commission for a vote. However, before we take that vote, I just want to take a minute to, we have 3 pretty significant items on the agenda. The 3 MOUs with our groups, the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1596, the Lawrence Police Officers Association, and the Solid Waste Division Teamsters Union Local 696. And I just want to thank everyone who worked on those MOUs. It's a good day. It's a great day to get all those MOUs done. I'd like to thank all the folks who worked on behalf of all those groups, and I can't name them all, but I know Seamus and Matt And Kevin worked hard on those, as well as our team, Craig and Diane, Lloyd Carnahan, Brandon McGuire. I know they put in lots and lots of hours on all three of these agreements, and they're all very important. And, you know, so for some 3- and 2-year agreements, these are going to last us for a while, and appreciate everyone coming together on those. So thank you all for that. Any other commissioners have any comments before we vote?
I'd like to express my thanks to all those involved in the bargaining for using the interest-based method of doing this stuff. You know, we're here to serve the residents of Lawrence, and when we can resolve interest, you know, using interest-based negotiation, I think that helps everybody. So, you know, hats off to you guys, and thanks for the term of the agreements.
Yeah, I couldn't add much more to that. Just thank you very much for your work on this, everybody that's been involved. I know it can sometimes be tenuous, but everybody was really good at getting it worked out, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Then I'd go ahead and look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ananda, a second by Commissioner Lawson. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
All right.
Again, thank you, everyone, for all your hard work. Okay, we're now moving to public comment. The public is allowed to speak on items or issues that are not scheduled for discussion on the agenda. As a general practice, the commission will not discuss or debate these items, nor will the commission make decisions on items presented during this time. Individuals should address all comments and questions to the commission. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes. Does anyone present here at City Hall like to make general public comment? Come on up.
Phil Englehart, quick question or two. When can we expect an update of the rate model and for public viewing? And when will that presentation be made in public fashion?
We'll come back to those. Any other members of the public here wish to speak? Seeing none, anyone online who would like to speak in general public comment, please raise your hand using the raise your hand feature, or let Sherry know and she'll call upon you.
Chris Flowers?
Behind me, but there
Chris,
is
we
a 20
can't hear you.
Oh, do I need to
It-
speak up louder? Can you hear me
We're
now?
having a real tough time hearing you, Chris. I don't know why.
Okay.
Yep.
I just want to say there's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign up here. And then down there's one for 30. And the thing
Chris?
is, okay, I'll just have to stop, I guess.
Chris, unfortunately, we did not hear that public comment. We'll see if we can get that fixed, or maybe you can submit that otherwise. Sorry about that. Anyone else online like to make general public comment?
There's no other there's no other general public comment.
Thank you. I'd bring it back to the commission. And just, do we know when the rate model will be done, or when the presentation is? We might not know yet, but Craig, go.
I don't have a specific date. I'm hoping, there's Danielle, so hopefully she can do a little better than I would have.
If you stall long enough, someone will come to your rescue.
Can't hear her.
Okay, we can't hear Danielle either.
What's going on?
Porter, we had this issue in a meeting that I was in, and we just used muted that and used the audio on our laptop, and it worked. If it continues to be an issue, we might want to try that.
a minute for the Zoom.
Wait a minute. Here's our problem. It defaulted. Try again, Danielle.
Testing.
Perfect. Hey,
Awesome. Okay.
Chris can come back.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I was just trying to get Craig a quick email that is currently slated to come back to the commission later this fall. So that's when we have the rate models currently slated to be brought back before you all for consideration.
So sometime this fall. Okay. I don't know if Chris Flowers is still on since we fixed our problem. I don't know that he is. Okay. Well, sorry about that, Chris. We now have that resolved if you make it back in. Okay, we'll now move to the regular agenda. Regular agenda item number 1 is to conduct a public hearing regarding the structure located at 2010 Learnard Avenue and consider adopting a resolution declaring the structure to be unsafe and dangerous.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Brian Jimenez, Code Enforcement Manager for the City of Lawrence with Planning Development Services. This will probably be one of my shorter resolution discussions, so I think you'll appreciate that a little bit. I'll share my screen here. Oh, it says host is disabled.
Hang on just a second, Brian. Lots of things to click. Go ahead.
Okay. Tonight we're having another resolution for your consideration. The resolution is 7386. To give you a little bit of background on this property, on June 8th, you adopted resolution 7377 that set the public hearing date for tonight for a one-story fire damaged property at 2010 Learnard Street. Proper notification of the hearing was completed as noted in the narrative. I won't go through all those details for you. The reason this will be a pretty short discussion is because the owner is not in disagreement that the house needs to come down. It's just a matter of trying to get it down in a reasonable fashion, and I think we're making a great headway on that. So I'll give you a little bit of what's happened since this resolution was passed. This memo was put on the agenda. On June 30th, I talked to, for the record, Barbara Hawley is the owner of this property. It suffered a decent fire through the attic in early 2020, right before the pandemic. City staff, including some co-workers with MSO, has also worked with her trying to get a resolution to getting the house down. I recently spoke to her on June 30th. And her inquiry on that date was if she could proceed with the demolition of the house with the abandonments of the sanitary sewer and the water line to occur as a later date. MSO weighed in on that and agreed that that was an acceptable plan. So I advised Ms. Hawley that she could proceed with the demolition of the house with the abandonments of those two utilities at a later date. We do have some insurance proceeds money and a little over $7,000 that we would love to give back to Ms. Hawley as soon as she completes this. She understands that the delay has been on her, and she has apologized to me several times, and she is adamant that she's on the right track at this point. I did visit with her on site last Friday just to make sure she understood everything on the process. She does have a bid for the demolition. I do not have a date. R.D. Johnson has signed on to take the house down. It is my hope that the abandonments would occur soon after that. One issue with the abandonments that is raising a little bit of angst for her is the sanitary sewer is located pretty much directly under Learnard Street, and by city code, you got to cap the line within 18 inches of the main. So that means you have to dig up the street, repair the street, and obviously that is additional cost. So I spoke to her, I communicated with her again this afternoon via email. She gave me a signed contract from R.D. Johnson. So this passing this resolution tonight is just a formality, in my opinion. It ensures us that if something does go wrong and Ms. Hawley cannot get the house down, then we have the resolution signed, and that will give us the authority to proceed with the demolition at a later date. And that's all I have for you tonight, and I will stand for questions.
Any commissioner have a question? Seeing no questions, this is a public hearing, so I'll officially open the public hearing and ask if anyone present in City Hall would like to speak on this item. Seeing none, if any member of the
Second, I will pull up the presentation. We just want to cover the process that we've gone through so far. On May 11th, the City Commission provided policy guidance. That guidance was used to craft the capital budget that was presented on June 8th and the city manager's recommended budget, which was presented last week, July 13th. Tonight, we're discussing the need, based on Senate Bill 13, to notify the county of our intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate, which under previous budget law was known as the maximum mill levy rate. So just to cover Senate Bill 13, on or before July 20th, we must notify the county clerk of our intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate. Our current mill levy rate is 33.318 mils. The revenue neutral mill levy rate based on the state formula would be 32.515, a difference of 0.803 or $937,000. So just a reminder for the City Commission and the public that there's two fairly significant differences between the city budget and the state budget forms that are required. The state budget form only impacts the legally required funds, and there's a number of funds that the city has that are not legally required that are also included in our budget for transparency. And the state budget form adopts a expenditure including estimated fund balance. And so the numbers on the state form are significantly higher than the numbers that we shared with you all last week. In our presentation, we provided the state form, the budget summary form. As you can see, the top three funds are the mill levy funds. The 33.318 mils is split between a general mill levy, a debt service mill levy, and a library mill levy. As you can see, the levy rates for the last year are identical to the levy rates for this year. And so the ask tonight is to establish that public hearing and that revenue neutral rate hearing to be August 31st at 5:45 at City Hall. We also want to remind the public that the Lawrence Listen survey is up and available for anybody who would like to provide public comment on the budget, as well as there'll be a time to provide feedback at the public hearing on August 31st. There's additional information that can be found on the city's website, and you can also go through that website to our interactive open transparency portal called OpenGov. That's all the comments that we have tonight, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have about the revenue neutral rate.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions for Jeremy? Seeing no questions, I'll open the item up for public comment. Does any member of the public present like to make a comment on this? Seeing none, does any member of the public on Zoom like to make a comment on this agenda item? If so, please raise your hand using the raise your hand feature, and Sherry will call upon you.
There's no public comment on this item.
Thank you, Sherry. I'd bring it back to the commission. I would say, obviously, this is the first step in the process that's going to culminate on August 31st. So hopefully we do get continue to get some feedback from folks on the budget, and we can continue to look at that as we move towards that date. But obviously we need to get this scheduled for a hearing, post Senate Bill 13. So any other comments or motions?
I would move to schedule both the public hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate and budget hearing on Tuesday, August 31st, 2021 at 5:45 PM in the Commission Room, first floor of City Hall.
Second.
So motion by Commissioner Nanda, a second by Commissioner Lawson. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 5-0. That ends the regular agenda. Moves us to commission items.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
I believe Chris Flowers is back in our meeting.
Is Chris back?
Well, he might want to comment.
Chris Flowers, if you are back and ready, we're sorry we missed you there. Our Zoom volume was not working, so if you want to go ahead and give your public comment again, that'd be great.
Okay, well, I'm back, but it's not a big deal. But on 25th Street, you guys are doing one of those speed things where it says how fast you're going, and it says 30 miles per hour. Then a few blocks down, there's a sign that says 25 miles per hour, followed shortly by another sign that says 30 miles per hour. And it just seems like when I bitch about that, the people who run our streets don't know what they're doing. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You have one of those radar things that's used to, what is it you talk about? Like, I mean, not enforce, but to teach the public what the speed limit is. You know, you're trying to educate the public, but it just seems kind of ridiculous to have two different speeds posted on a street. You're trying to educate the public about how fast to go. And I mean, it's not that far away, you know. It's like, it just seems like, it blows my mind that we have two different speeds posted on 25th Street. And like, it's been that way for a while too. But I thought, well, maybe it's probably just a mistake, you know. But then once you start doing the radar test, and I would have thought, well, wouldn't they have noticed that just shortly down the street that there's two signs contradicting each other? Maybe. And if it is supposed to be 25 miles per hour for just like 10 or 20 feet, why is it that? Like, why is it just switch to 25 miles per hour at that one location just for a few feet and then go back to 30 miles per hour? So just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and sorry about that technical difficulty earlier. Okay, that brings us back to commission items. Any commissioners have any commission items?
I have a couple things, Mayor. Sorry. Vice Mayor Shipley. I forgot we have to introduce ourselves. I did want to mention that the Sister Cities for Orteen was awarded a prize from Sister Cities International for a project they did over the past year and a half, COVID. People from Lawrence submitted articles that were published in the Orteen newspaper. This is just kind of talking about what our experiences are here in Lawrence during COVID. And it was recognized by Sister Cities International as a particularly successful endeavor to help spread some knowledge and friendship among people commiserating during COVID. So I did want to mention that. And then kind of as a side note to that, I was also thinking, we're all on boards that we agreed upon at the beginning of our year, and we don't usually give each other book reports about those. And I thought that might be something we might consider in the future, just not that it has to be elaborate, but I'm curious how you guys are doing on your other advisory boards that you're on. So I just thought I would suggest that. And then what's the other thing? Oh yeah, sorry. Many of us have already seen the presentation from a group, a kind of grassroots effort to talk about this intersection right by us at 6th and Massachusetts, which also sort of includes the park there, the space kind of across the street, connection to the river, and, hopefully finishing up the loop, as well as perhaps more modern bicycle and pedestrian amenities crossing the river, connecting us to North Lawrence. And I think all of us have seen this presentation by the group, and many people, I think, even on staff have seen it. And in light of some of the projects that are on our CIP, I felt there was some overlap there. I wondered if there were any other commissioners that might like to see that presentation given here, and perhaps figure out a way to move that into the public discussion area.
Certainly we talked about that last week with some of the projects at 6th and Massachusetts, so I think it's certainly worth, bringing forward and having some public input on and getting some discussion going on it, so I'd like to see that at some point.
Yeah, I think that would be good to see. I would just want to make sure everybody understands we need to make sure we're coordinated with all these. I know there's a lot of different projects out there, a lot of different ideas, and the ones I've heard are all great. So I would really appreciate it if we could make sure we don't overlap or we don't get crosswise with some of the other stuff that's going on, in that everything runs parallel with each other.
Yes,
Yes.
I concur.
Excellent.
Do you have a time? Sherry's about to ask us if we have a time frame, so I will beat her to the punch. I don't know if there's a particular time frame you have, or just.
I'm just in barely corresponding with the group. They're free in August, so of course we have some important things happening in August, but however it fits in our schedule is all I was anticipating.
I would love to wait till after the budget. I really would.
Yeah, August is looking a little.
Yeah.
Looking at future agenda, August is looking pretty full. So maybe September was looking less full, but if we can coordinate that, something like that.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Mayor, and I'm sorry, is this a specific group? I'm just not aware of exactly what.
They have a name and I've forgotten it.
Okay.
Yeah. I apologize, Sherry.
That's okay.
Speaking of coordinating, I would just add that, as many people probably know, the city's doing quite a bit of work on 9th Street, right outside my house.
Yeah.
And, talking to some of the workers and seeing what they're doing, it's pretty impressive to see how they're coordinating all the work between the sewer lines, the water lines. I know Parks and Rec is even coming in to trim the trees at the same time, and then they're going to put the road in and get that all done in hopefully a week, so they tell me. So that's all pretty impressive and coordinated work, and talking to some of the people out there working, it's pretty impressive technology we have that kind of guides them in the work and the work they're doing. So I'm appreciative of that work and the coordination.
I might just add on the collaboration part. If by providing an opportunity for this group to come and speak to us about their plans, should we provide that opportunity to other groups that are also planning for different aspects of bike paths and various recreational items? Would that be something we should consider? It seems, I don't know.
Are you thinking like the Lawrence Loop folks or other?
Well, we've got, I know they've been working on trying to get some of that's Lawrence Loop there through the railroad area. But then I know they're also doing a trail up by is it Cameron Park, I think, something like that, that they're working on that. And again, it ties into all this river area. And they may not want to, but, if we're going to give one group an opportunity, do we need to look at other groups? I don't know.
I'm certainly open to that if they're interested, so.
Also, my hope was that, again, since many of us have seen some of their presentation, that some of the other groups that are working in those spaces become aware of it and they become a greater conversation. And maybe we want to move that into public engagement, something more structured. I like that it's a grassroots effort, and hopefully in the future some of the projects, if we like them, would capture private money, grant money, things like that. But on the public engagement part that we're always so excited about, it's good to see something come from the public that's pretty well organized. And they have an engineer that's been thoughtful, which is nice. So yeah, Commissioner Larson, my hope would be that other groups would see where they would want to join, or even see this as an example of something if they have a project they want to elevate. Yeah.
So I don't know where all the groups are, but I've met with, seems like several.
I wonder too if this is part of, the new public engagement process that we're getting into versus, I think that it's important to have these conversations at these meetings, but I think there's also space for, if we have 36 groups who are interested in this conversation, then that's going to be a real long meeting where, many of those ideas may be able to consolidate or maybe unfeasible or, whatever. So I wonder if that can all be kind of operated through someone like Porter, who's doing that public engagement piece before it comes to us.
Craig, where are we on our public engagement hire?
Well, I'm supposed to get an update next week on that, or this week on that. You didn't ask me this question, but we have a lot of boards and commissions that do a lot of planning work, that do digest a lot of things that come from the community. And obviously, planning is supposed to incorporate things so that we can account for the many perspectives and all the coordination that goes into them. So that particular idea they have been presenting to a number of people, and I think when they met at the staff level anyway, they were they just said, hey, we're going to continue to work with you as the process goes forward. So we anticipate that they will be bringing those different ideas forward. And there are other groups, and I do note that we have had for some time had a public portion of the capital improvement plan process where we do ask the communities to submit projects, and they are regularly engaged in our coordination and discussion that happens, and I would anticipate that would also be something. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't bring forward any group that you'd like to hear from, but there are a lot of avenues where I've perceived that the community is engaging with us where we've asked them to do, and eventually those all should synthesize into plans that get funded, which everybody's looking for. That's ultimately, unless it's funded, it's just kind of a dream. So, I think there's lots of places where we can catch these. This is one of them. Public comment is one. The CIP is one. The boards and commissions, the MPO, our transportation planning groups. Those are all ones that are also there.
I will say they did present to multimodal already, and multimodal didn't seem clear what they were supposed to do with it next. So,
Okay, any other commission items?
Well,
Commissioner
all
Bullock?
this talk about streets has got me thinking about, I'd like to thank, I guess it would be MSO for coming out and dealing with a pothole that was, frankly, it was huge, probably big enough to swallow a Volkswagen. But they've got it taken care of. It was at about 1735 West 19th Terrace. And, I think this is a success for the Lawrence Listens, because somebody turned it in on Lawrence Listens. And, I just think that that's something that the community needs to take to heart, that there is a way to communicate these things to the city, and it's our job to be responsive to that. And in this case, we were, I think. So, hooray, and thanks to MSO for dealing with it. And, for the folks that are, experiencing difficulties, I think Lawrence Listens is an avenue that you can try.
Sounds good. No other commission items? That takes us to the city manager's report. Craig?
Thank you, Mayor. So there are 5 different items on here. I'll call attention actually to all of them. The Peak Performance Awards is something that our MSO department has won for both of our wastewater treatment plants. So we appreciate that external recognition for their hard work and consistency. I was really excited to read the update on the bus stop program, especially because, not just because we're making those investments and there's a lot of needed amenities that are getting out into the community finally, and I know a lot of people have been anticipating those, but when you kind of read down all of the different community groups that are partnering with us, that are contributing to their community and to the transit stops, it's just so exciting to see that kind of engagement and direct effort from different community members, which just enriches the way that we can execute this and makes it unique. It will make all of these unique stops, so I thought that was exciting. The future work session items, we do those. I want to let you know that we are working to keep August 3rd relatively light, and there's some things on here that are still listed on here that probably will not be on there because, not just because it's election night, but also both the mayor and I will be absent from that meeting, but I didn't want you to be concerned if you saw some on here. The other item, we received a response to the question from Commissioner Nanda from last time on the Catholic Charities and the way they would process a request for that. So hopefully that's a responsive summary. That's all I have.
Thank you, Craig. Any questions from commissioners? This is a public hearing item. If any member of the public would like to speak on one of these 5 items, anyone present like to speak on those? Anyone on Zoom, please raise your hand using the raise your hand feature, and Sherry will call upon you.
There's no public comment on this item.
Thank you, Sherry. That brings us to the calendar. Any comments on the calendar? Still fun to see all the ribbon cuttings. Keep them busy. That's good.
I like it.
And as I mentioned before, and Craig just mentioned, I will be gone on August 3rd, so it's all you, Vice Mayor. You'll be ready. Okay.
I don't think I've ever had a meeting this short.
No.
Over yet.
Don't jinx us. We're not adjourned yet.
I would move to adjourn.
Second?
Some motion by Commissioner Nanda, a second by Commissioner Lawson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5 to 0. Thank you all.